Welcome to our podcast. Join hosts Caitlin, Kristen, and Stephanie for candid chats on life, relationships, relocating, and real estate. From navigating change to sharing tips, we've got you covered. Let's dive in.
Hey guys, and welcome back for another episode of the Real Salty Podcast. My name's Caitlin, and I am joined by Stephanie today, and Kristen has the night off. I'm just kidding.
Nice. That's nice.
Yeah, Kristen's busy right now with some things going on in her life, but Stephanie and I wanted to go ahead and continue the chat about the hurricane aftermath, which we left off of on our last episode.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, isn't it? We've always talked about, obviously we talk about it from a real estate perspective, most of it, but I think it's interesting how, there's even more micro markets than there were before, and the barrier island, life is going back to normal, and almost everything is reopened. And then you take that drive onto the barrier island. I mean, it's just amazing. Gosh, how long do you think this is going to take before we get back to where we were? This is crazy.
That's a loaded question of length of time, because unfortunately, as our lovely neighbors down south in Fort Myers, now granted, Hurricane Ian was a whole different kind of animal, right?
Yeah.
How it affected that area, but ultimately...
Because they got the water and the wind all at once.
Hurricane, correct. But it was a hurricane, right? And so when you think of it just from property damage standpoint or business closure standpoint, yes, structurally it's not the same, but it has the same effects, right?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, from the sounds of it, with some of these town hall meetings and open forum Q&As that luckily, our Jeff Beggins with our brokerage and our company has been leading the charge and organizing with city officials and local entities. Unfortunately, it sounds like it's going to be a while. It's going to be a while. Now, when it comes to the rebound of tourism, okay, I think that this spring break, it's going to be spring break. I do.
Too.
I do for our particular area. I hope so. However, it's almost like, it's kind of like when I tell people that go on the beach, it's like, oh, I drove down there for the first time and oh, it was crazy. And I was like, turn off a Gulf Boulevard. You haven't seen anything.
Yeah, right.
And that is going to be, I think, the longest drawn out, almost longest death march, I guess.
Yes.
I hate to say it like that, but It's just like, there's going to be bad news coming down for years.
Yeah, I think it's almost going to be it's under the rug, right? The people that come in that never even take a turn down Palm Street, of Boca Ciega, 142nd, 100. We can name
Bristol,
all of them, right?
Island.
Yeah,
right.
We can name them all that have never gone down there. They're actually just not even going to know what was up there, right?
True.
I was did some kind of site visits with some clients on Saturday, and they just are in Tampa, and they couldn't believe this is the first time they'd actually been over, and they just couldn't believe the destruction. And then on Monday, I jumped on a call that was kind of a call-in call where we say get some expert advice about how to manage some of your clients that might be struggling with selling or buying or whatever. And so I jumped on that, and Jennifer was on from Fort Myers, and whether she wants to be or not, she's just going to be my friend. I'm gonna have to just tell her you actually just need to be my friend. And so her and I got into this conversation that was so narrow-minded, we were locked in like you and I are right now. I don't even know, there's probably 30 other people on the call, but her and I were like this because we were talking about how the PTSD is so real. She's like, it's 2 years later and I'm still trying to manage through it. And our stories were so similar, where we got impacted but we didn't, but we work in the impact, right? And it's and I even just said on Monday when we were talking about it, I was like, oh, I mean literally right now I could just start crying about it. It's so unbelievable to me. It's so hard to move on from this.
It is. With the stages of grief, it is with the PTSD of a traumatic event like this. We can talk about that for months and years to come. I'm going to think like, oh, I'll wear that outfit. Oh, wait, that's right. I don't have
Yeah.
that anymore. But it's more than that. It's more than like, oh, I don't have that pair of shoes. It's loss. Now, in my personal experience here, there were feelings that I am still currently going through, not only being affected, work wise, but also losing my belongings and my home being
Yes.
flooded. You know, it's almost like I was brought back to when my father passed suddenly. It's the shock, it's the sadness, it's
Yeah.
immediately overwhelming, but then anger and denial, all the things. And these are going to be waves that a lot of people are going to continuously feel for a really long time. And I know that when we talked in a previous episode about the importance of mental health, right?
Yes.
That
Yep.
could not be more important than now.
For
And
sure.
and with especially the holidays coming up, like I personally, it does not feel like the holidays to
Yeah.
me. And it's
Oh
not just
yeah,
because
I
we're in
get
Florida
that.
and it's warm outside. It's
Yeah.
different this year. It just
Yeah.
feels different. Personally, I don't have room to put up a Christmas tree this year, and I love everyone for being like, "Oh, we'll figure it out. We'll make you a 12-inch, or you can put it on the wall and
Yeah.
everything." Yes, but no. Like
Yeah.
I collect ornaments, and I have so many ornaments that mean so much to me that are special. How because then I feel guilty about choosing on my 12-inch tree what
Yeah.
ornaments can I have and which ones do I not,
Yeah.
and then it's just like, do I really want to put myself through this? You know what? Fuck
I
the tree.
know.
You know?
Well, yeah, I mean, I
Ugh.
swear the only day of October I remember is Halloween. And it's because I mean
Right.
there's so many kids that come into my neighborhood. We
Mm.
literally at 4 o'clock started putting Halloween decorations up, and I took them down by 10 o'clock that night. Like it was there and done. But
Thank
I
God.
mean, you mentioned the mental health piece of it, and I spent most of October going back to bed. Like I was like, I just need to go back to bed, and then it became now I'm running again in the morning. And then the
Good.
other thing that I throw myself into, which is interesting because I think like if you can take yourself out of it and then throw yourself back into it, is that I'm like so into any level of sports right now because it's just like quick wins or quick losses, right?
Mhm.
It's like I
Verdicts
can't.
are made and decisions are had, and that is that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
The
I mean, I've
uncertainty.
never been into college football the way that I'm into it right now. I love baseball. I mean, I grew up in a sports household, so it's not like this is, crazy for me to be talking about sports, but
I can't tell you the last time I watched a Red October or playoffs for the MLB in the fall. Like I grew up in a baseball household too, and I can't even tell you the last time. I'm a horrible Cardinals
that's
fan.
the only time like Michael and I were so upset. Like we normally get the MLB. We didn't get it this year because we're Red Sox fans, and the Red Sox have been really bad the last couple of years. So we're like, we're not wasting our money. We don't want to do it, but which we regret now because it would have just been fun in general. But we watched all of the playoffs, and we were genuinely upset when it was over with. I mean, I remember we went to a bar and it was like Monday Night Football, Dodgers versus Yankees, and then Lightning were on, and I'm like, yes, I feel alive right now.
Yep. Yes. Bring on the distractions. Right. Exactly.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I've been trying to like, from a mental health standpoint, like I get up and I go for a run in the morning. I just to get myself going and feel like I'm in control of the day, right? Like what
Yeah.
what have you found yourself? I mean, and you may not be there yet. Like what can I do to normalize my life? Cuz it's so not normal right now.
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, what can I do to normalize my life? Honestly, the immediate thing that's going to happen, probably the quickest that is going to start to normalize my life, is to be able to have my office back.
Yeah,
So that will
totally.
help. immensely for me to have my office back, that I can go to work every day
Yeah.
and have a home for that. That would be great. That will be great.
Yes.
Not would be great. It will be great because it's
Yeah.
happening. Like
Yeah.
it's in the
Like
works
it
right now.
should be set
That'll
up
be
by next week, right?
honestly by next week. I should be back in my room. So it's great. That'll
Yeah,
help
that's a
tremendously.
big deal. That is a big deal. I think that those little small wins are just going to be what helps feel just, oh my gosh, like
That
it
sense
just,
of normalcy, yeah, for me, when you talked about like just, waking up and then being like, no, and going back to bed,
yep.
I had those feelings as well. There was a lot of the time though that physically I couldn't. I had to get up and I just had to schlep. What
Yeah.
I have done, what I have done is given symptom wise of depression or depressive states, I've noticed
Yes.
one of the behaviors that I've fallen back into is that I'm not responding to
Oh,
everyone that's checking in with me.
yeah.
And this has been ongoing since September. And, we get an outpouring of people reaching out to us when
We
these
do.
things happen in our area, or, with anyone. I feel like when anyone has a natural disaster or something like that happens in their area, their entire sphere will reach out and be like, I know someone that lives there. And they'll be like, hey, I hope you're doing okay. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Now, granted, what really gets my guilt meter going
Totally.
is now at this point it's been a month and a half, almost 2 months, and there's people that have reached out to me multiple times and I have not responded. And it's honestly, I don't have the mental bandwidth to do it. I
Yeah.
just don't.
Have you
And
found that you have anyone that hasn't reached out to you and that's actually made you mad?
ooh, that's a good
Because
question.
Trish, a mutual friend of Caitlin and I's, Trish and
Yeah,
I were talking about that a couple weeks ago about how, I mean, she's going through some of the same things you and I are talking about right now.
right,
She would
right.
actually be a good person to talk to with this as well because she's really like, and her
Sure.
husband's up in New York, and so she's like been trying to hold down the fort. The
Alone.
amount that she has taken on, like, she's so, have so much respect for what she's been doing because it's just been amazing to me.
Yeah.
Her and I had this whole conversation a couple weeks ago about how there's actually a level of like frustration who some of the people that you thought were really good friends or that haven't reached out and you just it almost upsets you too and it's like but is it fair to them, like I don't know, right? It's just you're going
I
through so much.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, personally, I can't. I mean, I hate to be like, no, all of my friends did. That's
Yeah, yeah,
not what
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
personally. I can't think of a person that,
That's good.
why didn't so and so reach out? If anything, it's just me feeling like a piece of shit for not responding.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can't. I mean, you just can't. I mean, there's just so much going on. There's just,
Yeah.
Caitlin, there's so much going on with you. And I say that only for anyone else to understand the world that you're trying to navigate through of you work for someone that is taken on the world, right? Like it's just literally politically, emotionally, mentally, physically just taken on the world and hit your world fell apart, right? It's just like, okay, I'm trying to hang on
You
here.
it's funny because I'm so thankful for where I do work because our company and our team has been completely supportive. I have not felt not supported during
Me
this.
too.
They've granted me space, they've granted me grace, they've granted me everything.
The
And
reach out
I,
has been really amazing too. The
well, and
support.
and honestly, when it comes, we're talking about reach out, but also leave her be. Okay. So we're talking about Trisha. Let's talk about Trisha. Let's talk about the fact that my immediate boss, who I help to immediate support in my role with the company in the
Yes.
back office capacity, he has taken it upon himself to become an ambassador of sorts, like Stephanie is mentioning,
Right.
to help people with the resources and the contacts that they're going to need to navigate this, what is our real world now.
Yep.
So the fact that I have to administratively support him, who's supporting the world right now,
Yep.
it's
Nope. That's right.
it's different, and so it's
While being a father, while being a husband, while having
Exactly.
a father
And
that just lost everything too.
that's a whole nother part of it too. When we
Yeah.
talk about, there's people that are worse off than us, or have more tangents or factors in their lives that make it not as easy to make these decisions or pull triggers with things. I don't have children. And
Yeah.
so, some of our agents, like I can think of one particularly, she was displaced and she has two children. Figuring that out with the short terms, keeping them close enough for schools, I just can't even imagine having to run that, factor in this
Yeah, I
whole
can't either. My kids actually, because Madera Beach Fundamental, which is a K through 8 school right there, flooded all on the bottom, right?
right, right.
So my two high schoolers that go to also a fundamental school, so naturally, like this is a whole nother podcast, understanding what Pinellas County school and education system looks like. But nonetheless, like there's a natural, although it's an application process to get into Osceola Fundamental High School, then Madera Beach Fundamental naturally, as long as you have not like completely screwed it up, you're going to naturally funnel into that. So Madera Beach Fundamental has not been open since the 23rd, 22nd of
Yeah,
September. It's
right,
now November 19th. So
right.
those students K through 5 are at another elementary school.
Wow.
6, 7, and 8 are at my kids' school, my high schooler school. So my kids go to school from 7 to 12 now.
Oh, wow.
And then the poor 6th, 7th, and 8th graders go to school from 12:30 to 5:30.
God, that's
Middle
like,
school. I mean, talk about a parent nightmare. I mean, a nightmare for parents on trying to manage that. I mean, I have a nightmare because it's like 6:35 and I'm like, "Are you going to leave? Like what are you doing here? Get out of the house." But
oh,
I live
right.
less than 2 miles away. But like these poor, and this is going to change after Thanksgiving, they have like 40 pods set up,
Saw that. The
portables on
trailers.
top of, yeah, and I
Yeah,
guess the second floor. So everything goes kind of back to normal after Thanksgiving break. But I mean, that displacement, my kids were inconvenienced. And of course, my husband and I were like, let's have a reality check. Like, okay, sorry, you have to get up 10 more minutes early. Let's talk about these kids and the principal and everyone that's going through this as well. But yeah,
right.
there's total, I mean, I get it. Like, there's so many different elements, but
Yeah.
neither one are, it's just
No,
crazy.
and I mean, it doesn't really, it doesn't really change anything with my current circumstances. It just helps me maybe feel a little bit better about, well, at least I don't have to deal with that,
Yeah. Well,
and
that's
try to
what
see
everyone in Madera Beach has been amazing about, if you ask me.
rose-colored glasses, right? How can we
Yes.
see something through a rose-colored glass? Because right now it's just poop brown.
But
Yeah,
it's the most amazing thing. Like when you talk about that, like Mad Beach Strong, or you
yeah,
hear about other people talking about, there's never been a conversation. I talked to 3 separate people in that lost their home on Madera Beach today, and all 3 of them said you're saying,
hmm,
I'm not, there's so many people that are worse off than me. And it's just
hmm.
amazing to have that, I don't know, that humanity through this whole thing, right?
Yes, and that is going to be so important moving forward because, like, we led off with this talking about how long do you think this is going to be?
Yes.
And it's just like, honestly, honey, I think we're just getting started.
I think we are. I mean, well, and the problem is that as I learned, like the last couple days, as because
Yeah,
this is all just a big learning, is that it's. I mean, we knew Madera Beach is moving very fast with all of the permits and doing everything they can to move things along and pass legislation, but the problem is that we're reliant on FEMA, and if we don't follow their guidelines, then Madera Beach can get kicked out of the program, which doesn't help anyone in the
no.
long
And
run.
there's a lot of false information out there too. So there's people that think that they're making the right decision with the information and trusting the sources in which they're getting it from. And unfortunately, there's going to be some butts that are bit later down the road because
Yes.
the information was incorrect. Now, one thing that we do know for sure is that, like Stephanie's mentioning, the city officials are trying their very best. We have to realize that they are human. right? We are all
Yep.
human, and we have to
We're all
follow
going through things
the
personally.
process, and they have to get it figured out, and they have to do it the right way, because trust me, we want to move as fast as we can, but at the same time, do you want it done right, or do you want this to come back and you get the check 3 years from now, and you can't sell their home and you rip
Yeah.
everything out, or whatever the circumstances would be.
Yeah.
I also want to give a shout out too, because they are basically working with local charities and groups that are coming together to not only help, for example, distribute donations, but they're putting
Yes.
together like drives to raise funds also for people, whether it be to help replace appliances that were lost, or
Yeah.
temporary housing of any kind, clothing, things like that. But there's an event that's actually coming up here in the next, well, God, 10 days
Yep.
almost.
Yep. The
And it's
30.
on November 30th, and it's called Beach Aid. And there's a lot of entities that are involved in it, but ultimately behind it, it's to support the beaches and the people that are affected by this. And mental health is taking a front row in this event,
I
with
love it.
counselors and grief support and any other type of private conversation that you want to have. This isn't something where they're going to call you up in front of the entire group and make you talk on a microphone
Nope.
or fill out a form. You can do this with your own discretion. You can talk to someone, you can get the information, you can call them later, but just knowing that it's available. That's what
Yeah.
we have to help make sure to get the message out there, that yes, it's always great to have clean underwear and a toothbrush and the toothpaste, but let's also remember that there's going to be people that are probably sitting alone, and I don't even want to think about it, sitting alone in a carport on Christmas Day. Like, I don't even, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, these holidays, we really need to look around. We need to look
Yeah.
around, notice people, see something, say something, and help people. And
Yep. Yep.
unfortunately, some of the things that I'm starting to display is me first, and why did they get, and no,
Yep.
you
Yep.
know, okay, stop, let's stop, so it's,
It's hard. It's hard. It's
it's going
hard.
to be a true test of humanity.
It is.
It is. And we talked about it in the last episode, but it's just, unfortunately, we are here to witness it.
Yep. It is. It's just, I mean, the whole thing is just so,
But
gosh, I mean, we've just been dodging a bullet.
punch.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm grateful that we didn't have an Ian situation where it all came at once, but it was like, I actually felt like I got this after Helene. Like, I got this. And then it was just like, wait, did you say you got this? Because guess what? You didn't do it right. So I'm going to show her how this is done.
Exactly. We're going to do a second take of that and action. Right.
Yes,
Exactly.
exactly. And I go by the name Milton. It's like,
Maybe Millie Milton. Right.
exactly, exactly.
And
Well,
also, he was a freak. Let's talk about the fact that this mother trucker jumped persons. What kind of end of days apocalyptic Red River? It
what
jumped,
the, what the what?
it jumped Mexico, right?
It
What happened? There's a mountain range.
literally went through Mexico to get to us.
It basically just like pushed Mexico out of the way and was like, "Excuse you."
He's like, girl crush coming after.
They literally just stepped over, and then
Is pain.
and I'm like, wait a minute. So this never happens where it can jump over a continent, right? But it's happening. And less than 2.5 weeks ago, we had a 1 in a century storm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
That's me.
still hearing stories about survival. Like, I can't even believe the stories that I'm hearing. And granted, okay, so we knew the surge was going to be in like high.
Right.
We knew it. But to the intensity behind it was just
Well,
unimaginable. You just,
yeah.
it needs to not be called a storm surge. It needs to, I think we said this last episode, it needs to be called a tsunami. It just,
I had this conversation with our fearless leader today, and I said, why can't we just call it a tsunami?
it is. I mean, okay, technically it's not. It's not an earthquake, blah, blah, blah. Come up with a different name.
One massive wave versus the surging of the water, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
Science. Got it.
exactly.
So,
Exactly.
I hate too of, yes, we evacuated. I would like to say probably maybe 80 to 90% of these beaches evacuated. There's always going to be someone, Florida man, that doesn't, okay, no matter what. But people also have to understand that, like, I'm going to take this to the analogy of the Midwest, because it's always it's a victim blame now, and it's a, well, you should have left kind of thing. And people don't understand, like, when it's tornado season, okay, up north, and they talk about the fact that there's a tornado watch or even a tornado warning, which means, for people that aren't familiar in Dorothy country, tornado watch means that the conditions are right for one to form. A tornado warning means that somebody done spotted one on the ground and you better get in the shelter now. Warning
And
means
it
it's
has to be said in that accent.
watch means it could happen, right? I swear to God, there's times in Missouri too where the alarms go off and we just all walk outside and we look for it. So it's like, don't do that, because, and then the chances are it doesn't ever hit your house, okay? It just doesn't. It, God forbid, it, hits the neighbors or whatever. But similarly here, how many times do they talk about surge? And how many times does it not happen because of one little fluke factor at the ninth inning, and this did this, and if it would have been 1 hour sooner, it would have been during the king tide and the full moon and the blah, blah, blah. There are so many reasons why people, I don't even want to say didn't heed the warning, but just kind of like been there, done that, seen it.
Don't believe
I got it, and so it doesn't
crazy.
matter now. So for people, when I see people asking about what you should have done then, who gives a shit? It doesn't matter.
It really doesn't matter. It's not going to bring their house back.
No.
It just isn't going to change anything.
And guess what? They have a traumatic event that they got rescued on their roof, and they're going to have to remember that for the rest of their life. Trust me, Becky, you don't have to be a keyboard warrior and shame them on Facebook.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're going to remember for the rest of
their life.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're going to be remember for the rest of their life. Now, for Milton, similar to you, like, we were in our house and we were trying to decide if we were going to leave or not. And so we had two options. We were going to go visit my friend in Vero Beach, because we're like, well, let's just, instead of heading north, let's just head east. And then the other option is we were going to go up to South Carolina to my aunt's house, and she was like, she's so sweet about it. I was like, okay, just so you know, you're one of my evacuation plans. And she was like, I'll leave the light on for you. And I was like, oh my God, I just love her, right? And I was like, but just so you know, like, I am a hurricane coming up, because it'll be 2 vehicles, 5 dogs, and a mother-in-law, and 5 people. Like, so I was like, just so you know, we are a hurricane coming up, so you be careful what you wish for. And she really wanted us to come up there just to be out of harm's way, which was lovely, which is so sweet of her. But my friend in Vero Beach, like, she was so in tune with me. It's my high school friend, and I had just seen her a couple weeks before at my high school graduation, right? And so she was so, like, in connection with us around Helene. And then, like, when Milton was coming, she was like, literally, she just texted me one morning and she was like, what the F? Are you serious, Steph? Like, because she knew, like, are you kidding me? This is really coming. But let me just tell you. So we're getting this hurricane at like 9 p.m. on Wednesday night or Thursday night, whatever. It's all right. She texts me at 3 o'clock and she's like, do you have the hurricane there yet? And I'm like, no.
Sorry.
And she's like, Steph, I am literally, like, in my bathroom with my kids and my husband right now, because the tornado sirens that are going off are out of control. Half of her neighborhood experienced a tornado because of this Milton.
Oh,
She sent me videos of literally, like, total destruction. I was like, she's like, how is this even happening? Like, first of all, you were going to come stay with me, and now I'm the one that, like, it was, I mean, that hurricane, woo.
Yeah. I mean, Speaking of Dorothy country, I mean, she's, Malibu Dorothy, but she's got her bathing suit, man. Tornadoes, I didn't realize, like, with the weather that impacts Florida, with that the tornadoes that spawn off of it, inland and everything, and water spouts and everything. I'm like,
Right.
how is this not tornado country?
Yeah, no, exactly.
But
Exactly.
the amount of tornadoes that spawned off of Milton was, again, end of days shit. I'm sorry, but like
Yes. Yes.
around my house, we've been saying the
Exactly.
apocalypse. Like
Yes.
these are the days of the apocalypse, and like, oh, you're not built for the apocalypse, or like,
Exactly.
whatever it might be.
Right.
But it's scary because it's just like, okay, make it stop.
Nope, that's right. That's
And I
right.
know when we were recording the last episode, which was the first one that we had done when we kind of came back to reality a little bit after all of this, we mentioned that there was one that was supposed to actually be arriving tonight.
Yes, Sarah. Yep.
Well, and here's
Fortunately,
the
thank
thing: I wrote
goodness.
that we don't call her Sarah, and I have many. I have friends who are Sarahs without H's, and that turned into kind of a funny thing on the websites, or the socials and such. My other friend Sarah, who has an H, we've decided that we're going to call her Sarah. So
Okay, I love that. Okay, that's
Sarah
cool.
never came to fruition. So
Yes,
Sarah,
thank goodness.
thank God. Now,
Yeah.
granted, we're still going to get, rain tonight into
Yeah.
tomorrow. The cold front's coming. It's going to be a high of 70 degrees tomorrow, which, again, if everyone was paying attention earlier, it's November 19th, and this is
That's
why
right.
we live in Florida because it's
That's right.
70 degrees.
Yeah,
And I'm,
I know. I know. One of my clients that I have, he texts me and he's like, it's 34 degrees. I'm like, oh my gosh, because he's in Boston. I'm like, oh my
yeah,
gosh.
no,
Yeah. He's
that's
like,
no.
no matter, literally lost his home. And so he's going
Mm,
to get it demolished. And he'd already made the decision that he was going to sell it last year and just decided not to. And so he,
mm,
um, he's in Madeira Beach, unfortunately. So he was just here for a couple days, and he's made the decision he's just gonna, I mean, demolish the home and then just demo the whole home and then just sell the land. But he texts me today, and he's like, I know that life is really hard right now there, and I'm really sorry, and he's like, but just remember, it's only 34 degrees in Boston. I was like, oh
that is
my
the
god,
most
this
helpful
poor
text
guy.
I've gotten all day, right? Is what I would have said.
I know. I'm like, what? I know. Well, and I love that like conversation about the beach aid. One
Yep.
of the things that I think like we have to just keep celebrating all
I'm going to
these
grab a
different
charger
things.
just because I just noticed my computer's about to die. Keep talking. But the beach
Yeah,
aid,
no, I think
the 30th. Yeah.
and we've got the beach aid, and then we have some like what I love is Ricky T's is starting to put everything back together, which is in Treasure Island. The VIP, which is the amazing Mexican restaurant that is
Yes.
margaritas are to die for. They've been doing all these, margarita trucks to see if they can, all proceeds go to their employees, which I just love. And then
Yeah.
Thursday, Delos's is doing something where they're doing, just a little happy hour outside of their building to see if we can
Yes.
generate some. I think they're selling T-shirts and they're doing like a happy hour. And Los down in John's Pass is known for its pizza first and foremost, but it's also a really great like kind of post, I guess, happy hour, maybe even during happy hour, get together place for a lot of people. So
It's
that's
a
exciting
staple.
too.
Yeah, it's a staple for multiple reasons in John's Pass. They've had a presence for a number of years. My understanding is originally were located on the opposite side of Village Boulevard before moving to their current
Yeah,
location. Not only is it a fan favorite with tourists that come to John's Pass as, a nationwide destination for
yeah,
vacations, but it's also a local hangout. Okay. So
yes, very
it's
local.
it's a combination of both worlds. And so, honestly, to tell you the truth, because there's not that many tourists down here right now, us locals miss it terribly.
For sure,
Um,
for sure.
and I know that one of our agents, she is from Brooklyn, and she said that that is the closest thing to a Brooklyn pizza
Yep,
that you can get in Florida is at Delos's.
yep,
Personally, a few months before all of this mess happened, they had actually started making espresso martinis. So I
yes,
am very excited for that to come back.
yep.
I might actually just donate and make sure they know that it's specifically towards their espresso martini machine.
Yeah, I know, right? Exactly. And Dave
I
Bortney's
want
been
the
there
donation to
too.
go to the martini
I
machine.
mean, it's well known. I mean, Dave Bortney's been there too.
If I bought it, do you think I could get my name with a plaque on it?
I think so. I think we should
I
work on that.
think we need to work on that. I
I
think we
think
should
we
work
need
on
to
that.
work on that. But that will be fun. I mean, I love these little
To
activities that are
you
going
by the
on.
Real Salty Podcast. Cheers, bitches.
That's
Done.
right.
It'll be like your nice face engraved. Like,
That's right. That's right. Exactly. Exactly. But
oh,
I mean that's what I mean I guess I look forward to that like piece of it. I mean, I was talking to one of the business owners the other day and he was like, "I've never been more excited for businesses to reopen. When I see them posted on Facebook and I'm like, "Yay, go you! Go you! Yay!" And I'm like, it's so true. Like it was
yeah.
one thing after COVID when we all just kind of reopened because we were all still like, should we be wearing gloves? Should we be wearing masks? What should we do? But right
Ricky
now,
Bobby, I don't know what to do with my hands.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Remember that one episode we had where it was like,
Yes.
that was back to bra fitting episode.
My
But yeah, I mean, it was just like I've never, what there's people are all going through to try and get reopened, and they're
Yeah.
not just managing it from a business perspective, getting reopened business wise, but they most likely are dealing with it personally too, and that's a lot to take on, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to move forward with. So
Let's
I don't
also
know.
remind
I'm
anyone that,
optimistic.
yeah, that anybody that's also listening from outside the area that either aren't able to come over and financially support the businesses that are open. Like, for example, we have Small Business Saturday coming up.
Yes, yeah.
Black
American
Friday
Express
next
has been
week,
doing a
everything, all
great
that
job
stuff.
with that.
I mean, that we need to support these people. But, another thing that I realize is buy their gift cards, guys. Go on
Yes.
their websites, buy their gift cards for when they are reopened,
Yeah.
or buy their product if it can be shipped to you. It really means a lot.
It
And
means a lot.
unfortunately, there are so many of our small business owners, too, that were just like me and got a wham bam punch where not only was their livelihood affected, but where they lay their head. Can you
Yeah.
imagine their house and their business? I mean,
Nope.
together, we kind of put that together as one person because your business and my house, but it's like,
Yes. Right.
what
Yep.
in the world do you do, right? So if
Yep.
you do have a particular business that's along the barrier islands here in Pinellas County and you want to go check out their social pages, check out their website, see if they have anything, see if they even have a GoFundMe right now. Like Stephanie
Yep.
said, there's so many businesses that are not even the business owners that are looking out for themselves, they're looking out for their staff
Yeah,
members.
it's
And
for
so
their staff mostly, like trying to
it's
gain
not to
money for
pay
their
their
staff. I know
staff.
Candy Kitchen is doing one. Hubbard's is doing one. Losis is doing a local one. So there's some of these places that have just been kind of your staple when you come down here and visit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super optimistic. I think the holidays are going to be tough, but I am super optimistic about everything.
I know it sounds really stupid, but I really hope we have a boat parade. I need the boat parade. I
Yeah, it
totally
is actually happening. It is
understood
happening.
because I
Yeah,
was
I
worried
saw
that the
I
debris.
saw we actually got a flyer to hang up. Treasure Island canceled theirs, but we're good.
Okay,
Madeira
good.
Beach is good. So that will be good.
All right. Well,
We'll have to do something.
I need to figure out how to get on a boat for that because I was
Yeah.
in the Treasure Island Christmas parade last year and it was probably one of the best things I've ever done. I was so happy.
Yeah, we should do something. Maybe we can figure out with Tiki or something. Maybe we can figure it out with Tiki.
We will figure out how to get
Yeah.
on a boat because unfortunately my friend, God, there's so many, again, like these are our lives now. The friend that I went on his boat, I have no doubt that he was going to do it again, but unfortunately his boat sank in the
Yes.
hurricane, so it's gone. Yeah. um but yeah, I mean, guys, again, we just wanted to kind of hop on and go ahead and
Yeah.
record tonight even though Kristen wasn't available. I have a feeling these conversations are going to continue and there's going to be sporadic episodes where we jump in like special
Yeah.
bulletin. But at the same time, we're here. And
Yeah.
if anybody has any questions on what is the best way to support, we are going to take a Saturday in my office from Seminoles coming over and we want to help. What can we do? Get off Gulf Boulevard and support the businesses electronically how you can if they're not open, and just be nice. Just be
Yes.
nice.
Just be
Just be
nice
nice.
is right.
That's it. In my
Yep.
personal opinion, those are the three things you can do. If you want to grab a bucket and come down to 129th Avenue, just saying, that's my street. But anyway, guys, hopefully we try not to. We realize right now that we're all a little down and out. We are on our way back up.
Yep.
Hopefully, listening to us talking about these situations isn't too much of a Debbie Downer. And just know that we're so thankful. We're thankful. And I think that's
Yep.
appropriate coming up on Thanksgiving.
I think it
We're
is
thankful.
too. I think it
Yeah.
is too, girl.
All right, friend. All
Okay.
right, guys. Well, as always, thank you so much for joining. Make sure to give us a follow on all of our social pages and on our YouTube channels. And of course, if you ever have a topic that you want to hear us chat about, feel free to reach out. We are
Sounds
open to
good.
suggestions. Just be careful what you wish for. All right. We'll see you next Tuesday.